6 News at noon.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I'm Jose Grignon. The man charged in the death of a woman found in a cardboard box appears in court. Harris County's district attorney is calling for the recusal of a judge. We look at how he might be partial to his defendants and why some state troopers are being told to slim down. All that and more on Fox 26 News at noon. And we begin with this. The man charged in connection to the death of a woman whose body was found in a cardboard box was in court this morning. The victim's body was found over the weekend. Fox 26's Denise Middleton was there when he arrived.
Yeah, 61-year-old Miguel Moreno's bail was set at $500,000, and he's charged with the tampering of a human corpse. Now, this morning, we learned some very disturbing details in court. This all started Sunday afternoon when a witness called 911 after noticing a U-Haul box with blood at the bottom corner and a foul odor. When police arrived, they found the body of a Hispanic woman with deep lacerations on her face as if an axe or machete had been used. Her facial bones and neck had been broken. The body was wrapped in a sheet and plastic wrap. Investigators say Moreno was caught on video using a dolly to take the box from his apartment to the parking lot by the dumpster. Officers got a search warrant for his apartment and found a mattress covered in biological material. Blood droplets were found in the kitchen, door handle, as well as the bathroom and living room. Take a listen to what Moreno told investigators about what happened.
A black person entered his apartment by breaking his window, then brought a large U-Haul box into his apartment.
Moreno went on to say that he smelled a bad odor and noticed blood on the box and believed there was a dead body inside, but did not call police because he didn't want to get in trouble. Now, Moreno says he's lived there for 5 to 6 years. There is a woman listed on his lease, but it's unclear if she's the victim. Moreno is not a U.S. citizen. He's from Mexico, but has lived in Houston for over 25 years as a painter. We're told he has no pending charges, but he does have a criminal history dating back 25 years ago, and those were all misdemeanors. Reporting from downtown, Denise Middleton, Fox 26 News.
Now to our ongoing Breaking Bond series and some disturbing claims being made about a Harris County judge's ability to be impartial in a sexual abuse case. The Harris County District Attorney's Office is requesting the recusal of Judge Jason Luong. Now, the judge is set to preside over a retrial of a man sentenced to 25 years for sexually abusing a child. Judge Luong is on the record saying he thought the jury returned the wrong verdict. The DA's motion to recuse also accuses him of some questionable comments, including, quote, Judge Luong equated child sexual abuse cases with the Salem witch trials because just a mere outcry statement from a child is enough to put a man away for the rest of his life.
Right now, these statements, if true, are abhorrent, and the affidavits speak for themselves. With this particular judge presiding in almost 3.5 years, which isn't good enough for our county.
Now, Andrea Ball is running to take Judge Luong's seat in next month's runoff. A decision to recuse will be made today in Harris County District Court. We reached out to Judge Luong seeking a comment, but he's yet to respond. Harris County is now searching for another elections administrator after the election board unanimously accepted Isabel Longoria's resignation. Longoria announced she would step down in July following the fallout from the March 1st primary. She will still, however, oversee both the May 7th special election and the May 24th primary runoff. Judge Lena Hidalgo says she hopes to have a new elections administrator by the end of June. We are your Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and you know our weather is constantly changing. So let's check in with Lena Maria Arango to find out where we stand right now.
Thanks, Jose. You got that right. And despite the clouds winning out, temperatures at least have made it up to right around 80 on the nose, if not a couple of degrees below or a couple of degrees above. But for the most part, aside from some drizzle or some mist, the radar is relatively quiet. It is a bit of a gloomy feel and a gloomy look, though, as we take a look outside. We've got those strong southerly winds that are just continuing to pump in more of that Gulf moisture. So a very warm and humid feel, but pressure is still relatively high. We have some weak ridging building in, and so we're not seeing a lot lot in the way of rain action. Off to our east, a wind advisory. We don't have one, but it certainly is windy. We've got sustained winds up to about 20 miles an hour in most locations, slightly over in a couple of others. And we do have wind gusts up over 30 miles an hour in places like Sugar Land, Hobby, Angleton. So it's definitely going to stay windy into the overnight hours. Something to keep in mind if you are headed down to Minute Maid Park for the game, which by the way, today is at 5:40, not a 7 o'clock first pitch. Not much is going to change. We're going to be in the low 80s, mostly cloudy, though we'll see some breaks in the clouds and an isolated shower or two that you can always track in our Fox 26 weather app and plan for those gusty winds to continue into the overnight hours. I'll see you in a bit with that extended forecast.
A man was shot to death in his car this morning near T.C. Jester and Washington Avenue. We're told someone passing by saw a Jeep crashed into a tree just before 3 o'clock this morning. When they stopped to try and help, they noticed the victim had been shot. Police say a gun was recovered from the Jeep, but it's unclear if it's the same gun used in this incident. Detectives are now searching for surveillance footage in the area. Bond is set at $100,000 for the suspected drunk driver in Monday's deadly pileup on the East Freeway. Pablo Frias appeared in court this morning on an intoxication manslaughter charge. Police say he was drunk behind the wheel of a tractor-trailer when he crashed into the back of a Tahoe trying to avoid stopped cars, killing the woman inside. At last check, Frias remained in the Harris County Jail. Illegal street racing incidents in the Houston area nearly tripled last year. It's actually a trend happening across the country during the pandemic. Law enforcement agencies are coming up with ways to get racers off the streets. The city of Las Vegas is trying to fix the problem with the new RAID Racing and Apprehension Detail Team. Other police departments are partnering with speedways and racetracks to offer a safe option for racers.
It's not just a Las Vegas thing. This is nationwide. We see this everywhere. The most extreme end, it's fatalities. And on the other end, it's the inconvenience, it's the noise, it's the smoke, it's the regular citizens that is trying to get from point A to point B that gets held up at these intersections.
Authorities think illegal street racing went up because the pandemic cleared the normally busy and clogged highways for drag racers. New fitness requirements are now requiring hundreds of Texas state troopers to slim down before the end of the year or get reassigned. They now have a new maximum waistline. It's 40 inches for men, 35 inches for women. They do, however, factor in height, but those who don't fit the requirements have to track their weight loss efforts with the department. We spoke with a former police officer and current lawyer who said he expects lawsuits over the new policy.
It's necessary on patrol to have a level of physical fitness that you can engage in hand-to-hand combat, that you can chase people, and that you can do what you need to do. But on the flip side, we have an incredible shortage right now of people willing to subject themselves to the abuse that's associated with serving in the law enforcement community right now, that I'm kind of shocked that any department is taking a measure that will force them to take people off the streets.
Now, out of 4,000 troopers, a little more than 200 failed to meet the requirements. Still ahead, the Justice Department is appealing a court's decision to strike down a federal travel mask mandate. We'll see how travel agencies and cities are responding next. The U.S. Justice Department says it will appeal a court ruling that struck down the federal mask mandate for travelers, but only if the CDC says masks are still necessary to protect public health. Now, the mask mandate had been extended through May 3rd, but was overturned by a federal judge on Monday. And if the appeal is not granted, the Biden administration would have to head to a higher court to reinstate that mandate. United Airlines is going to allow some passengers banned for mask-related rules to fly once again. The airline says it will evaluate each situation on a case-by-case basis. United says during the course of the mask policy, about 1,000 customers were banned. Now, as the nation continues learning to live with COVID-19, some scientists are examining if updated boosters can help defend against any of the new flare-ups in the future. Moderna announced Tuesday it's aiming to launch a modified version of its COVID-19 booster shot sometime this fall. Johnson & Johnson also announced the company is suspending its COVID-19 vaccine sales forecast. California is now delaying its COVID-19 mandate for all school-aged children until at least next summer.
So based on these two facts, we don't have full FDA approval, and we recognize the implementation challenges that schools and school leaders would face, that we are not moving to have a vaccine requirement for schools in this coming academic year.
The CDC reports at least 82% of Americans ages 5 and older have received at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. Doctors say over the past 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, many people avoided hospitals. Whether this was for a routine checkup or a minor health care issue, they're now returning, and some of them with more serious health care issues. And this is creating a backlog for the hospital system that was already strained due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
People are coming in later for screening cancers. Those cancers are more advanced. People are coming in later for control of their blood pressure, and that's creating more advanced heart disease that we're now working to correct.
Doctors and the American Heart Association say that virtual health care visits are helping to clear some of this backlog now. And up next, the Governor's Task Force on Concert Safety releases a new report, how the Astroworld tragedy played into the new precautions, and more next. You know, more than 5 months after the deadly Astroworld tragedy, we are getting answers from the Governor's Task Force on Concert Safety. Fox 26's Natasha Geigel has details of that report.
In the report, according to officials, the representatives from Astro World Festival did not obtain a permit. However, the city of Houston did put out a list showing what permits were filed that they were involved with, but it appears that the proper permits were not filed to Harris County. Now, this task force was launched 5 days after a tragic event took place on November 5th last year. More than 300 people were injured during the crowd surge and 10 people lost their lives. Initiated by Governor Greg Abbott and led by the director of the Texas Music Office, this task force's goal is to ensure that future concerts will be safe for the public. The report came to some conclusions. An online event production guide will be created, which can be accessed through the Texas Music Office's website. The guide offers a summary to promoters of the best practices and recommendations and will also give them access to current legal requirements. Some of the recommendations to prevent the loss of crowd control is for promoters to create a unified on-site command control to organize the agencies that would respond to 911 calls. Large-scale events need to have a permit and follow the guidelines. If the event does not have a permit, local officials can step in and shut it down. Training for the promoters, staff, and first responders, which will include walkthrough drills, what to look out for, and a chain of command. Another recommendation is resources that will be centralized online. Also, organizers should monitor the social media accounts of the performers so that they can see what is happening in real time. Now, Travis Scott, who found himself at the center of this tragic event, announced back in March a multi-tiered initiative called Project Heal. Now, it will be offering several things here, such as scholarships, free mental health resources, and a tech-driven solution for safety, for event safety. Now, if you wish to read this full report, we have it on our website. Just head on over to fox26houston.com. Natasha Geigel reporting, Fox 26 News.
New video shows the moments before two Pasadena police officers shot and killed a man in the middle of the highway.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
This happened Tuesday morning. Police say the man was walking in the middle of Spencer Highway waving around a gun. Now, officers followed him and told him to put the gun down, but he refused and turned his weapon towards the officers. They opened fire, killing him. The two officers involved will be placed on administrative leave during the investigation, in line with standard practices with the department. Now, residents in the Fifth Ward say they've waited long enough for a cancer cluster to be cleaned up. The contaminated Union Pacific rail yard has been an ongoing problem in their community. At Tuesday's meeting, residents heard directly from the Environmental Protection Agency. Representatives say they've submitted comments to the state of Texas on a draft permit needed for that cleanup.
That Union Pacific has not been responsive. And what we want to see happen is for them to move expeditiously on what the Environmental Protection Agency has instructed them to do.
Officials with the EPA say they made suggestions and recommendations on ways Union Pacific can effectively go about the cleanup process, including more engagement with the community. Once again, let's check in with Lena Maria Arango to find out what we can expect over the next day or two.
Well, Jose, things are definitely going to look pretty similar to what they looked like this morning and today. And in general, the forecast isn't going to really budge all that much. So off to a pretty warm start this morning, aside from a couple locations like Conroe, Huntsville, Wharton in the 60s. Most of us were above 70 degrees this morning. So definitely seasonably warm by about 10 degrees. And that trend is going to kind of continue. So we're going to be warm. We're going to be windy. We're going to be humid. Plan for a pretty hefty breeze out of the south through the end of the week. Aside from some light spotty showers today, though, precip is pretty limited, a much drier end to the week in general, and we don't really have rain chances working into the forecast until next week. What we certainly have by the way of moisture, though, is humidity. Plan for dew points between about 60 and 70, and our dew points are kind of our temperature floor because the temperature can't go below the dew point, so usually your low temperatures are right around that mark. We're going to kind of park it around 70 for morning lows, and definitely a bit of a sticky feel. What I have plotted on here for you is, of course, the Futurecast radar, but also the Futurecast wind, so we can kind of see how these are going to change over the course of the next 12 to 18 hours, gusting up over 30 miles an hour at times throughout the day today and into the afternoon. Looks like we'll get some more breaks of clouds than what we're seeing now, something to plan for, but the wind speeds aren't changing all that much. Aside from these light spotty showers, we're not going to see a whole lot of rain, but around 5 o'clock, if you're heading to the Astros game, heading home from work, you might be dodging a light spotty shower, and notice winds are still up over 20 miles an hour for most of us. That doesn't change into the overnight hours either, but what we won't see is much more rain after the fact. So tomorrow is definitely trending drier, although we're going to hang on to those breezes out of the south. That's causing some coastal concerns too. We've got a coastal flood advisory for some of those high waves splashing up over. Could lead to some road closures. Also concerning is rip currents and some choppy elevated seas. So things to keep in mind if you're planning on heading to the coastline, boating, fishing, things of that nature. I mentioned not a whole lot of rain in the forecast, so we're starting to lose that pad for our year-to-date rainfall, and that is definitely concerning, but we'll take a look at that extended forecast with the 7-day on when we might see some shower activity coming up.
Still to come, a coffee shop in Arizona is teaching children about entrepreneurship. We'll explain how after the break. A coffee shop is helping first and second graders learn about entrepreneurship. Fox's Danielle Miller has more.
Grounded by nature, it's the latest hit at Greenhouse Montessori School in Gilbert. It's a full operational coffee shop. The employees, the students.
Yeah, I'm doing cashier.
I love it. How's the coffee here?
I haven't tasted it, but it looks good.
But you make it, right? You know how to make it.
Yeah.
The school's owner, Jennifer Papp, says the coffee shop fit well with the school's entrepreneur class, so they went ahead with it.
They had to interview parents, what they would buy, They put the menu together, they shop, they put the pricing together, so it's them. These children at 7 and 8 have life skills that many adults wait to acquire, and it's just innately going to be in them. So they are establishing people skills, collaboration, planning. It's just life skills that they'll have at a very young age.
The coffee shop has been the buzz of the school since it opened. It's a place where parents now look forward to getting their caffeine fix.
It's great. Yeah, the tea's good too. They just got these new honey sticks. So, yeah.
You and this other parent, they're back for their second cup, so it's got to be good, right?
It's pretty good. It's definitely good. They leave plenty of room for cream, which is exactly how I like it.
The coffee shop is just for parents and staff now, but the school hopes to open it to the public in the future. Danielle Miller, Fox News.
Stay with us. A final check of the forecast is coming up next.
The new Fox 26 weather app with more features in one easy-to-use screen. Current weather at a glance, high-resolution interactive radar, severe weather alerts, video forecasts, and much more. It's the power of your Gulf Coast Weather Authority in the palm of your hand. The all-new Fox 26 weather app, available at your app store today.
Welcome back, and here is your all-important 7-day extended forecast. Notice things don't change all that much on a day-to-day basis, so plan for partly to mostly cloudy skies, plan for morning lows right around 70, plan for daytime highs in the 80s, though after spending time in the lower 80s today, we're going to jump into the mid to upper 80s. So it is definitely going to be warm out there. We're going to hang on to those strong winds out of the south through at least Saturday. In fact, Saturday looking like our windiest day this week. Rain chances are minimal most days, if not non-existent. We'll start to see a front moving the region though Sunday into Tuesday. It might take its time to work its way through, and that is going to increase our shower chances. So that's kind of our next best chance of getting any meaningful moisture, and it will bring us a bit of a cooler day on Tuesday. So it's going to take some time.